All right, welcome back, guys. Today we are going to be doing chapter 4, which is all about curls, diameters, and lengths. This is kind of where it gets confusing, especially if you're a beginner, but we're going to break it down and it's going to be all good. Okay? Okay, so lesson 4.1 is going to be about curls. So curls for lash extensions is, like it says, how curly it is, basically how tight the lash is. There is literally from super tight to pretty much almost all the way straight, and it really affects the set. It is also really based on preference, whatever the client likes or whatever you feel best fits the sets. That's what we're gonna talk about. We would say that curls, honestly, it is kind of trendy because let's say a decade ago almost when I first started out, D-curl was the standard curl. You did D-curl for everything. We loved it. We even ventured into the DD curls, especially for your super long schmega sets, because if it was longer and the lashes kind of deflate their curl over time, then you wanted the DD curl. And we kind of transitioned into a period where we all loved CC curl, and that was kind of the standard that you all start by. And now we're seeing a shift even almost into standard C curl, which is crazy because back when lashes first started out, C curl was the booming curl. So it's just funny to see how even with things like curls, it's trend and what clients are wanting at the time. But all these curls, it's really preference. It's also if you're doing certain sets, then some curls fit better than others. But honestly, at the end of the day, whatever your clients want and whatever you think best is what's gonna go. So let's break down the most popular curls. We would say right now from C, CC to D curl, those would be the most popular for sure. C is gonna be your loosest out of the three. Then there's CC curl, which is slightly a little bit tighter. Then there's the D curl, which is you're going to curly territory. Now, we would say that specialty curls, at least in this day and age right now, is very, very popular. Specialty curls is anything kind of outside of that range. So it used to be that all brands and the standard was carrying from C curl to DD curl, obviously DD curl being the curliest curl. But a lot of brands, even ourselves, we kind of dropped off DD because times are changing. Who knows if it's brought back, then we'll bring back more single lengths for DD curl. But that one is kind of, yeah, weaning off a little bit. Any curl kind of outside of the C to DD curl range is considered a specialty curl, or at least with our company, that's what we consider it. So there's J curl, which is really flat, B curl, which is also really flat, M curl, which is very interesting. It goes into the territory of the lashes or the curls that kind of go straight out and then up like this, which is also where L curl is, again, straight out, up like this, and L plus curl, out, up like that. Anything with an L, think of a literal L, right? The shape is an L because there's curls like LD now, LC, and essentially it's that L shape, and then how curly that tip of it is based on the D or the C or the L plus part. Now M curl, it is kind of like L, but it's not as sharp of a, of a turn. It's more of a rounded turn. So it's more of like an M. And then again, J and B are the really, really flat ones, which we'll talk about what they're good for. So back actually in the way back when lashes first started, J and B, I believe, were the most popular. I wasn't there for that, so that was just based off what I've learned from my trainers back in the day. It was like J, B, and then C was kind of when the lash industry started growing, and then it went from there. So J, again, very subtle. It's very close to the natural lashes, and these are really good for the eyeliner sets if you just want a dark lash line. They're also really good to mix with the curlier curls to create your wispy sets because you want that texture and the dimension to the set. So that's what J curl is good for. But if you're gonna do a full set of J, typically that's for the more natural sets. B curl, it's soft but a little bit more curly than more of a lift than J curl. This is really good for an open eye effect, so not so much like flat eyeliner look, but an open eye effect, but still really natural. We're not gonna get into details of like all the specialty curls. We do have more of it on our course, so definitely check that out. But like we mentioned, C curl was considered the most universal curl before, LC, CC curl, Honestly, for me, I think CC curl personally would be the most universal in that it's the safest curl, because some clients don't like their lashes super, super flat either. And you just have to keep into account that after, wear and tear, washing it and all of that, the lashes are gonna go down a bit. So some just don't want it super, super flat. So when you're picking a curl for your client, think about their eye shape, what set they want, how their natural lashes work. So are their natural lashes super straight and pointed down, or are they lifted and super curly? That can play into effect. Do they want a very dramatic set or a very natural set? And what is their retention like? Because that could even play effect. All right, we're gonna go to kind of suggestions of what curls to use with what eye shape, but just a reminder, honestly, it's just up to you as an artist, and it's with your client too. We believe that, if it's healthy and if it's safe, then clients can get whatever they want. You can obviously recommend to them, but at the end of the day, these are just suggestions from us. So almond shaped eyes, good curls for almond shaped eyes would be C, CC, D. I believe I do have almond shaped eyes. I love a C curl. I actually really want to try J or even B for that ultra flat look. I like the eyeliner look when I'm wearing extensions. If I'm wearing falsies like I am now, they're always super dramatic. But if I am going for a day-to-day look like extensions, I do want it to be more of a eyeliner look. Now for hooded eye shapes, the lid is a little further out and it covers a majority of the real estate there. So you need something that lifts past that lid fold. So we would recommend D curl is great, and then any of the L curls are wonderful for hooded eyes. Reason being because it has that little, L part to it, the one that sticks out, and then the curl comes out on top. So it kind of allows for the fold, the lid to sit on top, and then the curl comes out beautifully. So that's for hooded. For downturned eyes, oh, those are so cute. They're like the precious moment eyes. We recommend CC and D curl because you do want a lift. Upturned eyes, so that is going to look really good with your C and your CC curl because you don't want anything too curly that pulls the eye up even more. For really round eyes, those eyes can use such long lashes because their eyes are so big, so the long lashes don't look big or long at all on them. But really great curls for that would be your C's, your J's, your B's, because they already have really big eyes, so you don't want anything super curly. I mean, if they want to, of course, but typically you just want length and just a nice little flat curl. And then monolid eyes are where they don't have any crease at all. Again, kind of like hooded eyes, but they'd have that full fold over. L's, anything L plus, LC, LDs, LBs are great for eyes like that. More close set eyes, I mean, yes, you could use curls such as C and CC, but you kind of want to focus the length and the curl at the outskirts of their eyes so it pulls it out wider. Wide set eyes, you would want to use more of a C and a D, and what you want to do is kind of bring the lashes in more centered and more and you want to focus on the inner and middle parts of the sets to kind of balance it out. So there's so much, you guys, about symmetry in the lash world, and we love it. There are some specialists that are all about their symmetry, so we definitely recommend that you look out for those type of lash artists, and they'll be able to teach you a lot about balance and symmetry. And I know it's a lot, especially if you're first starting out, so no worries. If anything, you can always just show the client and they can tell you which one they like based on how curly it is in the tray. So don't think too much about this in the beginning. You will get the hang of it as you use more curls, and you get, again, you'll just get the hang of it. So curls are so important because it can create textures. It can really execute the set that you want. You can create very custom set depending on what eye shapes they have. So curls are really fun. Have fun with it. There's no set rules, honestly. Try things out and yeah, go for them all, honestly. Lesson 4.2 is going to be about our diameters. So our diameters are how thick the extension is. And so what goes hand in hand is how thick the lash extension is going to typically be how heavy it is. And how heavy it is going to determine how many you can put on one natural lash. To start off with, you really do want to understand your diameters. I would say maybe that's the most important thing of these characteristics of lashes that you want to pay attention to or understand fully when you start out, because you don't want to be doing, let's say, a volume fan. So like, let's say you're doing 3 or 5 in a fan and putting it one onto the natural lash if it's super heavy. Also curls, again, like I kind of mentioned before, it's going to be any alphabetical letter. Think alphabetical letter equals curl. Diameter is going to be anything that says 0 point blah, blah, blah. So 0 point blank, 0 0.15, 0 0.7, 0 0.3. That is going to be your diameter, which is how thick it is. So for example, if you're gonna do a classic set is one extension on one natural lash, right? And so for that classic set and the lash to show, classic lashes have to be a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier so that it shows, it's prominent. So that one lash is going to have some weight to it and some thickness to it in order for it to do its job and show. Once you start going to natural volume, hybrids, etc., you want lighter lashes as you get thicker because you want to be able to grab more lashes, and you want your fans to be bigger, but you want them to be healthy, of course. So if you're doing a mega volume set, you're gonna go down to 0.03. We actually carry 0.02 and 0.01 lashes, which are the most lightweight lashes in the industry. And those are great, especially for clients who don't have that many natural lashes, let's say, or have weaker natural lashes. You don't even need to use them for mega sets. You can use them for, let's say, natural sets, while keeping into account the health of the lash. So if a client comes in and their lashes, they don't have a ton of natural lashes, but they want, let's say a volume set, using a 0.2, 0.1 where it's super lightweight is gonna allow you to still create that effect that they want. So diameters are fun because you don't really have to stick to the rules other than if it's heavier, you don't grab as much. But besides that, anything from 0.7 lower, they actually can interchange really well depending on what you need to be doing. The cool thing about diameters and curls too is that girls have been loving mixing them all together. Again, it creates such depth, texture, uniqueness, custom sets. So it is really cool to put 0.07, let's say as your wispy spikes, right? Because it's thicker, you need less, you want it to be more of a chunk, and then you do a base of 0.03. So again, you can really intermix with diameters too, but the most important thing is that you think about the health of the natural lash, and then what set are you trying to make with these. When we start for beginners, we usually recommend a 0.07 just because the 0.05s and lower, they're very lightweight, so they're harder to grab, and it's also harder for artists, like I mentioned in the tweezer section, to kind of understand the pressure between the tweezers. Therefore, the lashes can slip out really easy. So when you have something like a 0.07, it's easier to grab, it's easier for you to feel out the pressure, and then you can build up from there. 0.05s we would say are the most popular for natural volume sets, a mix with mega volume sets. You can kind of mix them in, and then 0.03 we would say are really popular with obviously mega volume sets, but also again they're being mixed in with natural sets to create all this different dimension and texture. So we love how much the lash industry has evolved. Back in the day, it was one curl, one length, one diameter all throughout, and I'm not judging still. I love that. That is fine. Simplicity is sometimes great as well, but it is really cool to see how much the industry has evolved and how just like intense the girls can go with it. And it really does show out throughout their set, because their sets are just like, you could just tell the effort, the love, all of that goes into it so much. So I'm amazed at people who mix all these different things and have the eye for it. It really is for us here at Alon, we actually don't go past 0.15 because it is really heavy but there are diameters heavier, 0.18, 0.20, but for us, we feel that 0.15 is typically the healthiest a lash can carry. Obviously, all of us have probably messed up picking diameters in the beginning, and that's totally okay. But just to go back to my point on this is really important. If you're using the wrong lash weight, it can affect the retention, it could affect the health of the natural lash, cause premature lash shedding. Lots of things can happen if you're not using the right lash diameter, so definitely something to pay attention to when you're first starting out. A couple things on pointers to look for when you're choosing diameter. Think of their lash health, check their lash health. Do they have healthy lashes, or are their lashes kind of growing out because they're healing? Think about the density of their lashes, how thick it is, how many there is, even the layering of their lashes, how many layers do they have? For example, Asian girls, we don't have as many layers, so you might need to grab a lighter diameter so you can put more versus, let's say, I just know Asian girls because I have Asian lashes and we don't have layers, but girls that have a lot of layers, maybe you can pick something less. You can pick something like a 0.05, 0.07, and because they have so many natural lashes, you're not gonna need to grab that many extensions. So things to think about when you're choosing your diameter. Also, client preferences. I do literally have clients that ask for specific lash diameters just because they can feel the weight or the lightweightness of it. So that's something to take into account. Educate your clients. That's a huge thing that we're all about at Alon, making sure your clients are on the same page, and it just helps. I know it's a lot. I would say in the beginning, if you're first starting out, don't overwhelm yourself. Maybe just stick with what set am I doing and how are their natural lashes. On our course, we have a chart that kind of gives you recommendations of how many lash to grab with which diameter. So 0.15 is the one-to-one. We would say once you're going to 0.07, then we're gonna say typically maybe 3 to 5 lashes per fan. When you head into 0.05, then you can go up from 7 to plus, depending on their natural lashes. And then 0.03 is gonna allow you to grab 10 plus fibers in one fan. 0.02 and 0.01 allow you to grab 15 20D fan. When we talk about our fans, basically how you know how big the fans are is D. Typically we don't say 1D because we would just say a classic lash, which is the one-to-one. When it becomes a fan, it's 2 or more lashes on one natural lash. So we would say that's a 2D fan. 3, obviously 3D fan is just the dimension of it, 4D, 5D, 6D. So that's what I'm referring to when I'm letting you guys know roughly about how many extensions can go with each diameter. With the whole diameter talk too, another great thing to think about is switching up how big your fans are. That can really help with texture, density, and creating custom sets. So you don't have to create the same fans with the exact same number of lashes for your sets. I used to think that I had to do that in the beginning, and I also think maybe a decade ago that was more normal. If you are doing something like a Russian set where it's very, very uniformed, then you do really want to make sure you have a consistent D fan. So like let's say you're doing 3D, you want to be consistent all throughout because the whole point of Russian sets are the uniformity of it. But otherwise, mixing it up, being close around the range is totally fine. All right, that's kind of everything with diameters. We're gonna head on to 4.3 now, which is the lengths. Length is obviously, like it states, how long the extension is. So you have very, very baby short, which is down to 4. We carry 4 actually, and long up to 30 mm. That is crazy. That's probably like this, and 4 is like itty bitty bitty. So we have the full range. Again, lengths also, it's 1 about health, of course. 2, it is totally about preference. And 3, it's part of trends too, because almost a decade ago, long lengths were crazy, you guys. I mean, again, you always just want to communicate with your clients, but I have done 25 mm plus lashes. 1, because I've lashed in the Bay Area, because mega volume sets were really popular at the time, and because that was just the look in the day. So we are all about, there's a whole debate on if anything longer than 14 or 15 is healthy. As long as you communicate and talk with your client and let them know what's possible, then we think you could do what you want. Now, again, we're not here to judge or police that. A recommendation is if you are going to use anything longer than 14, 15, use maybe a 0.02, a 0.01, because they're super lightweight, so it kind of offsets the lashes being so long. Short lengths would be considered maybe around 4 to 8 millimeters. Medium would be 9 to 12s. Long would be maybe 13 to 16s, and then extra longs would be anything 17 and plus. But again, that is always changing with the trends. Back in the day, I don't think we ever touched anything below 9. Even 10 was considered short. So times are always changing. If you're watching this many years later, then that's what it is. Length matters also because it affects the look, it affects the retention, it affects the overall health if you're choosing the wrong length. I would say with clients that have shorter lashes or maybe less lashes, shorter extensions definitely last much longer on them. So if I have a client and they're wanting, they're coming in and they're getting 15 mm sets, but it's not lasting them too long, I usually do recommend that they go back down to like 13 or 12s, and it lasts much, much longer. So that's just something to keep in mind and be aware. Things to kind of think about when you're choosing lengths, obviously again, preference, what the client wants, lash health, what their lashes can actually handle, and then eye shape. You know, smaller eyes, if you do really long lengths, it's gonna overwhelm the eyes, and that's when you kind of get the raccoon look. And then bigger eyes, if you go really small, it might not show up at all, and some clients don't like that. So it is preference, but also if they aren't sure and they're new to lash extensions themselves as well, you can base it off of their eye shape. Typically, the rule is you don't want to use an extension that is longer than 3 millimeters longer than their natural lash. So let's say they have 12 millimeter natural lashes, the max or the longest you would want to use is 15. That's kind of the rule of thumb that everyone follows. Again, we talked about it already, but communicate with your clients if they are looking for otherwise. On all of our isolation tweezers, we actually have a ruler on the back of it so that you can measure it right there. But as you go, you'll learn, you can kind of tell right away once you see a lot of natural lashes. But that's the rule of thumb, so something to follow if you're starting out. Kind of some suggestions we recommend too is with the shorter lengths, you always go shorter on the inner corner. Depending on what set you do, it is always nice to go a little bit shorter on the outer corner as well, because those are the two areas that fall out fastest for us, and typically shorter lashes always do last a little bit longer. Medium lengths are just a great length for overall anyone, especially if they don't know what they want. We would say stick within the medium range. And long length is going to be good if you are doing your dramatic sets, volume sets, mega sets. If they're looking for that look, they're probably looking for the length as well. And then your extra long sets are for the girls that they like the bold statement type sets, and we are all for that too. Again, as long as you communicate and you look at the lash health and make sure that they mixing lengths is great. We will talk about styling sets later. So even if you're doing just a uniform set, mixing the lengths of the lashes is going to give a lot of texture and density. For example, tip and trick is when I'm doing super mega dramatic sets, I actually find that when I do all long lengths, like let's say they want 15s and like the whole set almost is 15, it actually doesn't look as dense as if I mix in short or medium length sets, because when you mix them in, again, it makes it actually gives the illusion of it's darker, and then we could talk about the whole layers too. But yeah, don't just think longer means more dramatic. Actually, the mixing in of things create more dramatic sets. So definitely feel free to customize and mix your lengths. And we do have a chart on our course that kind of gives you the recommendation of what lengths to use with what eye shape. But as always here, we just say communicate with your clients, test trial things. It's gonna take a couple goes until people find their true set. And yeah, we would say you could follow this chart if you want and refer back to it, but it is not something you have to adhere to. Lesson 4.4 is all about lash tray types. So we're gonna talk you through the trays because they really do make all the difference. But just a reminder, which we'll go into lesson 4.5, it's a video, so I'll explain it. You wanna look for alphabetical letter, which is going to be your curl, 0 point blank, which is gonna be your diameter, and then anything that has a number and then mm next to it is gonna be the length of the lashes. That's kind of what you look for. So for our last trays, we're gonna get into the Alon world. Cashmere Mink, she is going to be our bestseller by far. She is known for being very dark, having a strong lash, so the curl is pretty tight, and for being buttery, soft, very universal. By far, she's the most popular. You guys can go online and see all of that. We kind of talked about this in the tray section earlier, so I won't go into detail, but just kind of brief over it again. Velvet Mink, that's gonna be a really lightweight tray. Very versatile as well. People love mixing Velvet Mink with Cashmere Mink, or just mixing trays together, because for example, you have Cashmere Mink, which is a very strong curl and lash, and then you have Velvet Mink, which is lighter. And so when you blend the two, it gives a really happy medium and gives those really customized sets. So blending trays is totally fine, you guys. And you know, every line is kind of different in regards to how curly the curls are or how tight that's all preference. And so we would say definitely give the trays all a try and then see what works best for you and what your clients want. For me, for example, I actually like getting a flat curl as is, and then I like through the weeks when it gets flatter and flatter, especially when it starts falling out. I feel like when it gets flatter, it kind of doesn't look as crazy. So I don't like as strong of a lash as Cashmere on me. I actually prefer a softer lash, but again, it's all preference. Matte Mink, she is our most matte one. Plush Mink, you know, she is the new technology where there's the most fibers in one strip of lash. So you can get very fluffy sets. You're getting more for your money's worth. She's awesome. She's definitely growing in ranks for popularity. Satin Mink, your darkest sets. For all my mega girlies, I use Satin Mink. For Velour Mink, again, my personal favorite. She's so luxurious. She's very, very dark and matte. And what I love about it is it's for not only the mega girlies, like girls that want it thick, but they like it, the density, like they want the fullness, because it is also lightweight at the same time, but not as lightweight as our lightweight collections, but it's so dark, matte, and it's still soft. Royal Mink, she's so lightweight and soft, so I love using her for a natural soft look, and she's also very versatile. So those are our trays. We also have Signature Mink, which is our dupe of Cashmere Mink. Give her a try. We wanted to come out with something super affordable for the lash world. And so those are our $9.99 trays. That's kind of everything about the lash tray. Now, it's lesson 4.5 is a video, so definitely go and watch those because it'll show you the example, and hopefully we'll be able to pop up examples on this video too. But reading the lash tray, because that's the most confusing thing in the beginning, and honestly we even get tripped up sometimes still when we're running orders or if we're in the store and clients are asking for a specific tray, because there's so many things happening on those little stickers. But just a reminder, alphabetical letter, you're going to see that on the sticker. That's going to be your curl. 0.0 or 0 point blank is going to be your diameter, and then a number, let's say 10, followed by that's going to be your length. So curl, diameter, length, and that is what you're going to see on every single sticker that you see for lashes, and it'll have the 3 of them. So that's what you want to look out for. If you're ever in our stores and you get confused, please ask our associates. They will be able to help you, because we do have a structure in which the tray walls work. I do understand it's very overwhelming when you first step in and you see an entire wall of lash trays, but there's a science to it. Once you get it, it'll be so easy. So let us know. We are here to help you guys. That is everything in regards to curls, diameters, and lengths. When I was teaching before, this was the chapter that I really tried to slow down and break down, because it is very overwhelming when you start. So don't worry if you don't get the hang of it right away. You will, and just know, even for us, sometimes we're making mistakes in order, human mistakes, because we get tripped up by all the numbers. So it'll always be something we need to work on. But now that we're done with chapter 4, go ahead and pause, go to our online course, take that chapter 4 quiz. This one is very important, and make sure that you get 100% if you want to get certified, okay? I will be back and see you guys in chapter 5.